Hi everyone. So today Patricia and I are delving into a topic which I think a lot of people are talking about today and in the coming days since the event happened last week. I think I can speak for both of us, Patricia, when I say that neither of us knew who Charlie Kirk was until last week. Well, until this week, actually.
Yeah. No, I'd never heard of him until I heard about it.
Yeah,
Heard about the assassination, which was horrifying. I
it was.
that's that, violence is never ever the way. We don't resolve problems that way. And having that recorded,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that was really, really shocking. But no, I had never heard of him prior to this event. And so it's extremely disturbing to see
It is.
what is happening, because this is not the first time. We
Yeah.
just earlier in the year we had Melissa Hortman, who is a state Democratic caucus, who was gunned down, and her husband was gunned down, and what was that other guy's name? John Hoffman and his wife were injured. So much hate and violence, and people are being killed over it. So it's sad and it's shocking, and
And it's unsettling,
it's unsettling. Yeah.
right? And I think that's really kind of well, that's why we're doing this today, right? Again, as I said, until last week, we didn't know. And now we're seeing the emergence of things people are saying online, um, the divide it's creating, the stress within families. Like it's horrific because of one person whose values were being very much put out there. I feel in a way, having watched a lot of videos now since we said we were going to talk about this, um, in a way that's very much, I know a lot, I know everything, and I just felt there was no real room for discussion. It was sort of very much,
From Charlie is what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's how it feels like, right?
Right. I did not watch the videos, but I did some reading, and I didn't watch the videos because it was just too upsetting. And I'll be honest with you, Susan, I find this to be a really hard subject.
It is.
It's just a really disturbing subject because it's just a small piece of what looks like a much bigger trend towards
God.
violence, and towards not having any understanding or acceptance of
Yeah,
anybody who's different or believes different.
I agree.
I abhor what happened.
100%. It should not, but none of them
Should
should
have happened.
happen, right? This is it.
But I'm looking at some of what he stood for,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't agree with anything that he stood for. And I find that polarization of where he was coming from just so unsettling.
Mm,
And anti same sex marriages. He was very much a gun person, and I read that he had made a comment that it's worth it to have a cost of some gun deaths every year so we can still keep our Second Amendment. I mean, so
yeah.
having gun deaths was okay.
But a part of the course, yeah.
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 So, little did he know he was going to be part of that statistic. And there's a number of things that I just really go against my grain. Him
I
as a
agree.
human being, he has
Yeah.
a lot of value as a human being. And so those are very separate things
And
that
this
I
is
want
it.
people to understand,
Yeah.
that we are talking about very separate.
Separate issues. Yeah. We're not talking about him as a person, but more about the values that he really endorsed and sort of stood for.
Right.
The whole idea of pro-life, again, he's a man talking about a woman's body, and that really bothered me. I
Obviously.
was a nurse, and it's like I worked on a gynae ward for a couple of months, and you see women come in all sorts of states, shall we say. And has he ever seen that? Like, it's all well to have these values and thoughts, but until you are actually in that situation yourself, how do you really know? How do you know how you're going to react, right? And until it's with you, it's all very well to talk about it, but you're that person that has had something happen to you and somebody suddenly telling you, no, you can't have an abortion, and it's a man who's telling you this. Like, I don't, that doesn't sit comfortably. It really doesn't. It feels like we said before, we're going back.
We are going backwards. Um, I also read something where he had said that that the Civil Rights Declaration, which, off the top of my head, I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure, but that was a mistake.
Mm,
And so here's, I guess, the crux of the matter, because this is not just him, this is a lot of people. But
mm.
why, why are we so against anybody else who is other than me, right?
Yeah, who's different?
Like
Yeah.
who cares who
Uh,
somebody else sleeps with? Why would you judge somebody just based on the color of their
yeah. And I think,
their religion,
yeah,
as long as, like, shouldn't what's important be, how do people conduct themselves?
yeah,
How are they with the people around them? Are they trying to build people up, or are they bringing people down? Like, what are we basing how we accept and
mm,
other people to be?
yeah,
It seems that there's this line of, you need to fit in this little box,
box.
or you're bad.
Yeah, you're not with us. You don't, there's something wrong with you if you don't match how we feel. And I'm like, that to me is a complete lack of tolerance. Now, I
Yeah.
think by that, we're not saying that, people can go around doing exactly what they want. But you know what? In the privacy of your own home, it's your home, as you said. What you choose to do to yourself, these are, okay, then we get into a whole other debate, but it's
Yeah.
as long as you're a good, you have good values, you're looking after, as you said, your community, you're helping to support people in all sorts of ways. It doesn't have to be big and heroic, does it? It can be little things, but just immediately categorizing people because they have a different thought or slightly different, like this intolerance, I think that's what I just don't understand. Like,
I don't get
where
it.
is it coming from?
The intolerance, that's the
Yeah,
perfect word. There's the intolerance that is so big in the world, and people are becoming violent about
yeah.
it. And
This
I
is
think
it.
that's the key thing about why are we so afraid? Because what's
Yeah,
underneath intolerance? We fear the unknown.
something.
We
Yeah.
fear something different. And why are we that
Mhm.
way? Why do we
Instead
all?
of, yeah, and I was saying to you before we did this today, is when I was watching those videos when he goes onto the school campuses, it was not a discussion. It felt like a tennis match.
Learning or growing or listening to each other.
Yeah,
It's very
taking,
black and white, my way or the highway.
it was reacting, both sides. Like
Yeah.
the person asking the questions and him, there was no sort of, okay, let me take a moment, think before I answer, or maybe actually question what my answer would have been. And maybe I might just adapt it a little bit, or maybe it's actually given me something to think about, right? None of that. It was literally back and forth. And honestly, I came out of watching those videos, I said to you, I was rattled because it's nothing came of it, nothing good. There's no education that came of it. I honestly don't know why they were doing these. Like, if he
Seemed to
had
be no
gone,
point, is what you're saying.
pardon?
It sounds like you're saying there seemed to be no point of doing this, because there was no coming together, there was no growing, there was no hearing each other, there was no real dialogue.
No, there was, that's it. There was no dialogue. It was short snippets of this is what I think, these are my values, or somebody questioning his values and vice versa, right? It was going both ways, but there was nothing constructive. And I've watched a few of them where he goes in and they all had the same structure to them, right? People would come, they'd get I don't know if the time was measured or not, but they could ask their questions, they could question him, he'd answer, but it wasn't, as I said, there was no thought in it. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there was, but it was a fleeting, like 3-second answer, and it felt very reactive. right? Both sides were reactive, and the crowd behind cheer. It almost felt really medieval, like, and the crowd behind cheering instead of, oh, actually, hang on, somebody's just said something quite interesting, or maybe I hadn't thought about it. That none of that.
You
And I
get
think that just fuels this, uh,
rhetoric.
yeah, this rhetoric of I'm right or this or that. And then the people that feel that they haven't been heard get angrier. And I think, I don't know, maybe I have no idea, but I think this intolerance is just, it's unsettling, right? Because you think, well,
Well,
where
where are we
are
going?
our heads? Yeah, this is it.
Where does this all end? Because it's getting worse and worse and worse, and we're feeling it
Yeah,
all over the world. I mean, we're here in Canada, and there's some parts of that here too.
it's
I think
deepen
we're
a
a
little
little bit
bit. Yeah.
more able to discuss things,
Mm,
but it is everywhere. When you look around
yeah,
the world, it's really like this is the way it is, and I'm not going to accept anything that's outside of my little
right.
box.
And I'm not even going to question it. And I think that's,
Ah,
what,
yes.
when
Not
I
even going
watch,
to question why I'm
right.
having that stance.
Do you know what? So we've lived in different places, right? Different continents. And I think that was the thing that we tried. We probably didn't always get it right, but we tried to adapt to their culture as well as we could, right? When we lived in South America, you have different times, you have different ways of living. And there were certain things that I was like, oh, I can't quite do this, letting my kids run around until 10 o'clock at night until they're exhausted and fall into bed. I know it sounds like a really trite example, but it's cultural,
Right.
right? That's how they live. So we had to adapt. But we certainly didn't go out expecting people to understand our values and people to understand how we lived and what we did. That was different, right? It is a South American culture. It's different to North American culture.
Right.
And I think whenever I watch these things, I just think, wow, like, why aren't we just taking that moment and going, okay, it's different. Does that mean it's bad? No. Do I
The other
like
thing
it?
too is
Yeah,
that
do I?
if it's different, that doesn't mean that I have to be somebody different
No, exactly. This is it. I can still be me, but I can adapt to that.
or
Or,
not adapt to it, but live and let live, right?
but
Like,
this is it.
right,
As long as you're not infringing, as long as it's not affecting, society at large, which these things are, right? These events, these things affect so many people, and the hatred, as we said, that you see online afterwards, I'm like, I just don't get it. You may not like people's what they're saying, you may not like how they feel, but as long as they let you live and you're in a society that allows you, to go to work and to do, like, really? I
yeah,
think that's what most people want anyway. Nobody,
yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. It just baffles me.
No, it's heartbreaking. It's sad. It's scary where we are.
Yeah,
It does very much feel like we're going backwards,
it does.
particularly as a woman. If it's becoming more and more scary
Mm,
for minorities, I'm sure it's becoming more and more scary.
for
The
sure.
total lack of tolerance. Like,
Mm,
where is this gonna go?
mm,
And so I think that for us,
mm.
anyway, doing this, the big message would be challenge why you think that the way you do. You
Yeah,
know,
I think, and take that moment, right?
that moment. Yeah.
Don't just react like those, when I was seeing it. Take a moment, think about it. Like I said, the governor of Utah, after it happened, he was like, turn off your social media, go home, hug your loved ones, spend some time outside, and just try and let things cool down, right? And I think if people are watching this, I would, even after adult, do that. Just take a moment. We don't need to react every second of the day. Like, think
No.
about it. Just, what does it mean to me? Like,
And what do we really want?
yeah,
If we're going to stand for these principles, whatever your principles are, what is it that you really want from that?
yeah,
Like, do you, you know, again, I come back to, what does it matter to you who sleeps with whom? Um,
Mm.
you know, what really do some of these things really, how do they really affect you? Do we really want
Yeah.
to go backwards? Where, you know, as women, we would have less rights. You know,
100.
let's wake up and look at the reality of what we're really saying
Mm.
about what it is that we want. You
Mm.
know, we have great advances in the medical system, to help save lives, and we're
Mm.
rejecting that science.
Mm.
Why are we doing that? Is, you know, where does that make sense? So, I think you know, I might just leave it at that. And that
Yeah, I think
I'm
we both will, because we
fantastic.
have a 10, we can keep talking, as we
We
know.
can keep talking, but I think from my heart to anybody else that's
Yeah,
listening here, it's let's start a conversation. Let's stop just throwing barbs at each other and guns and bullets at each other.
yeah. And
Let's
actually listen.
listen and start
You
to,
might learn something.
yeah. And it's like, if I've got a really high self-worth, what does it matter what somebody else is doing or what their religion is, right?
Yeah,
Like, come on, let's get some perspective and some empathy and bring back conversation and learning to work together. I mean,
mm.
we've got big problems, man. The environment
It's
is going to
huge.
crap.
Yeah.
So why are we
And
not
that affects everybody,
everybody?
right?
Yeah.
So this is
So
it. Why aren't we focusing on that instead
instead
of
of
these
the
petty things?
minutia of, you know, who's sleeping with who and who should have rights and who shouldn't have rights.
Yeah,
And, you know, the gun violence is completely out of control. Really, should everybody be allowed to have a gun when there's mass shootings? Feels like every single day.
yeah,
It's not logical. It's just not
yeah.
logical. So let's start to have a conversation about, you
What
know,
makes sense?
yeah, what makes sense? Like, I have to have my rights, but your rights are hurting other people. So really, is that the sword you want to die on?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. And again, I think learning to be kind to other people,
Yeah,
maybe not writing the first thing that comes out of your head on social media, is uh, because it's too easy to do that, right? To sit behind your computer and say something to somebody you've never met that you don't know. But it just feels right. If you go down, which I didn't, but I've done it on other occasions, you go down and you look at the comments and it just spirals. And then people have these, excuse my, bitch fights online. And I'm like, you don't even know the person. Like, how is this happening?
I
I
agree.
think
And that's
be
such a
kind. Say nothing. If you've got nothing nice to say, just don't write it down. Just keep it to yourself.
agreed.
Right?
Anyway, so we're gonna wrap that
We're
up.
going to wrap that one up.
We're gonna wrap that one up. So I think from our hearts to
Yeah.
yours,
Take a
be
moment.
kind.
Yeah.
What was that thing that you said there,
I
Susan?
said just take a moment, right? Just
Moment.
let's just breathe and
Take
think
a,
about things before just reacting.
yeah, and let's challenge ourselves.
Exactly. Yes, I like that.
Challenge ourselves. All right.
All right.
Okay, Susan. Next time, everybody.
Something lighter. Bye bye.
Bye.